My husband Robert cheated constantly, even sleeping with every colleague and friend I had. I was pregnant and on my way to a prenatal checkup when he not only left me on the side of the road, but also had his mistress run me over. I lost my baby, and my mother died of grief. Heartbroken and numb, I took my mother's ashes back to my hometown. William Song saw all of this, and in a rage, he stripped Robert of all his shares, turning him from a wealthy man into a pauper overnight. He lived a life of agonizing regret and destitution in prison. As I spoke, my phone kept buzzing with notifications. A deluge of photos, all of Robert and his new favorite, Tiffany, while I was in critical condition during childbirth. The two of them were at a 5-star hotel, carrying on until dawn. Tiffany, covered in hickeys, leaned against Robert, her smile full of provocation. William Song, unaware of the full truth, still wanted to make a last effort. He pulled out a stock transfer agreement and placed it in front of me. "Catherine, Robert isn't bad at heart. You've loved him for so many years, why not give him another chance? As long as I'm here, no one can shake your position as Mrs. Song." I didn't say anything. I casually tapped open a video Tiffany had sent. The sounds of their intimacy immediately filled the hospital room. Tiffany asked, panting, "Robert, you left Catherine on the side of the road. Don't you feel anything at all?" Robert nibbled on Tiffany's neck, his eyes glazed over. "Why would I feel bad? You're the one I love most. Even if Catherine had the baby, she wouldn't be worthy of comparison to you." Those unbearable sounds made William Song's veins bulge with rage. After a long sigh, he still chose to compromise. "The Song family has wronged you. I will handle the divorce. I will ensure your freedom in 7 days. As for your mother's and the child's final arrangements." As he spoke, the nurse brought the baby over. It was as if even heaven couldn't bear to see me continue to waste away in this marriage. So this child was born without breath. I turned my head away, trying to compose myself. "Bury the child at the Song family estate. I'll take my mother's ashes." William Song nodded, his face etched with pain. "It's my fault. I shouldn't have forced you to stay at the Song family estate. Go, go. You deserve a wider world." With that, he hunched his body and carried the dead child away. The tears I had been holding back finally fell. A tide of bitter sorrow washed over me. My marriage to Robert was arranged by William Song. He needed someone to keep an eye on Robert for him. I needed someone to cover my mother's exorbitant medical expenses. So we struck a deal. I quit my workplace and married Robert. After the wedding, I learned about Robert's tragic past, having lost both parents at a young age. I also saw him cry out for "Mom" during his midnight nightmares. Two broken souls resonated in that moment. I wanted to heal Robert's heart. I wanted to build a happy family with him. To fulfill my duties as a wife. I worked hard on my cooking skills, trying to recreate the taste of his mother's cooking. I traveled around, piece by piece recreating the small cabin from his memories. And to satisfy his needs, I learned all sorts of techniques in bed. I thought we would have a happy future, but on our wedding anniversary, he brazenly took my best friend to a hotel. I ran there like a madwoman to confront him. Robert sneered, throwing the contract between me and William Song in my face. "Catherine, what did you think you were? You played with me for 2 days and actually thought you were Mrs. Song. You're just a dog my grandfather bought. What right do you have to question what I do? If you dare to make me unhappy, I'll immediately have your mother's treatment stopped." I was struck dumb, unable to utter a single word. After that, Robert's behavior worsened. After he was tired of influencers and celebrities, he started preying on my friends, constantly pushing my limits. On one side, my mother needed medical expenses. On the other, a marriage that was rotten to the core. The forces from both sides tore me apart, leaving me on the verge of collapse. One time, while disoriented, I missed my step and fell down the stairs, only to find out I was pregnant. William Song said to me, almost pleadingly, "Catherine, keep this child. He could be the turning point for your marriage. If Robert is still incorrigible after the child is born, I promise I won't force you anymore." Holding a mix of complex emotions, I agreed. Who would have thought, after trying for so long? My mother, my child, my marriage, my love. I couldn't hold on to any of them. I slowly wiped away the tears from the corners of my eyes and looked up at the gray sky outside the window. Perhaps the only comfort was that Song Qiuyuan and I were both finally free. While I was lost in thought, Song Qiuyuan's call came through. "Qiuyuan, did you go complain to Grandpa again? You completely ruined the rare private time Ashen and I had. I'm warning you, if you dare do that again, I'll cut off your cards." In the past, I would have groveled and apologized to Song Qiuyuan, doing everything I could to win his forgiveness. But now, I just said, my face completely blank, "Whatever." Song Qiuyuan was taken aback by my cold attitude. But soon, he sneered again. I heard the child was born. Having a child gives you leverage, doesn't it? But don't forget, I'm the heir to the Song family. As long as you're still in the Song family, I have plenty of ways to make your life miserable. I closed my eyes. I had seen Song Qiuyuan's methods before. The first time I caught them in the act, I naively went to ask Grandpa Song to see justice done. Only to be met with Song Qiuyuan's insane retaliation. He held my mother hostage, forcing me to kneel on the bone-chilling bedroom balcony, slapping myself over and over. That night, the sounds of him and his mistress enjoying themselves didn't stop all night. My face was swollen and red, and I was sent to the hospital because of frostbite. The last bit of genuine feeling I had completely dissolved in the vast, endless snow. After that, no matter how outrageous Song Qiuyuan's actions were, I pretended not to see, silently endured all of Song Qiuyuan's humiliations and harassments, trying to maintain my status as Mrs. Song. But now, my mother was gone. The child didn't make it. This marriage in name only should, finally be declared over. I coldly hung up the phone. I got up and contacted a friend at the funeral home to book a time for cremation. When I went back to the ward, I saw Song Qiuyuan standing at the door. He frowned at me, then sneered. Why aren't you continuing your act, pretending to be pathetic? Running around everywhere right after giving birth, you're in such good shape. Looks like you don't need to take traditional postpartum confinement. I plan to bring Ashen to live at the villa. She's young and delicate and doesn't know how to do housework, so sign your discharge papers and go back to be our live-in housekeeper. As he spoke, Song Qiuyuan leaned in towards me, a malicious smile on his face. Your suffering face is the best aphrodisiac for me, in bed. He stared intensely at me, hoping to see me look miserable and heartbroken. But I just wore an expression of calm numbness. Finding it uninteresting, Song Qiuyuan stopped a nearby nurse. Where's the child? Boy or girl? Bring them here, let me see. The young nurse looked completely flustered and panicked. I said helplessly, Grandpa took the child. Song Qiuyuan was about to say more when his phone rang. As soon as he answered, his face instantly changed. Then he slapped me across the face. Qiuyuan, what did you do to Ashen? If anything happens to her, I swear I won't let you get away with it. Already weak, I lost my footing and stumbled, hitting the railing behind me. The young nurse quickly stepped forward to support me. Mr. Song, Mrs. Song just gave birth. Doing this could kill her. Song Qiuyuan acted as if he hadn't heard, rushing away, driven by his concern for Ashen. The young nurse looked at me, with a face full of sympathy. On my pale face, however, there was no discernible emotion. As if all the love, hate, and resentment had been ground away over 10 years of hardship. After the examination, the doctor told me to rest. And I finally understood the reason behind Robert Song's anger. The child died, and Mr. Song Sr., consumed by grief and fury, had Tiffany Grant blacklisted online? Tiffany Grant, mistakenly believing it was my revenge, added fuel to the fire and complained to Robert Song. That's when Robert Song laid hands on me. Not only that, Robert Song revoked my shareholder status in Song Corporation and let Tiffany Grant take my place. To make her happy, he even bought 20 stars and had them named after Tiffany Grant. During an interview, Tiffany Grant proudly showed off the diamond ring on her hand. I never considered myself a mistress. If a woman can't hold on to her husband's heart, she deserves to live like a widow. Besides, the current Mrs. Song only married for the Song family's money. I'm different, my feelings for Robert are completely genuine. The comments below were polarized. A group of mindless, rabid fans tagged my social media account. They hurled insults and abuse, demanding I step aside for Tiffany Grant. I watched, feeling only irony. After all these years, Robert Song's tricks for wooing women haven't changed at all. Back then, he treated me the same way, after learning I came from a poor background and had never celebrated a birthday. On my 20th birthday, he gave me 20 gifts. From a golden locket for age 1 to a mansion for age 20, he said it was to compensate me for the hardships I'd endured over the past 20 years. I still remember that day, when he held my hand under a sky full of stars. Sarah Miller, I lost my parents when I was young. From now on, I will treat your mother like my own, and we will build the happiest family together. I melted under his tender gaze, and naively believed I had found the person I would spend my life with. But later, the novelty wore off. Robert Song soon fell for someone else. During one date, he left me stranded on a mountain just so he could deliver flowers to his mistress, girlfriend. That day, I walked hundreds of kilometers of mountain roads alone to get home. My feet were raw and bleeding, and I was left with scars on my calves that would never disappear. I should have understood back then. This man was selfish and fickle, and would never settle down for anyone. That contract was just an excuse he found for his infidelity. Thinking of this, I left a comment under Tiffany Grant's video, wishing you both a long and happy future together. Shortly after I posted the message, Tiffany Grant deleted the video. What followed immediately was a demanding phone call from Robert Song. I didn't answer. Instead, I calmly blocked him, just like he used to treat me. Then, I suddenly remembered that today was the day for my mother's cremation. I explained the situation and processed the discharge papers early. The doctor was worried but couldn't dissuade me, so he volunteered to accompany me. When the staff member handed me the urn, I didn't feel the crushing grief I had expected. I only felt that the 10-year-long shackles that had bound me. At this moment, they were completely broken. I sighed softly, said goodbye to the doctor, and returned alone to the Song residence to pack my things. As soon as I stepped into the living room, I saw Robert Song and Tiffany Grant sitting on the sofa. Seeing me return, Tiffany Grant quickly pulled up the zipper on her dress. But her body, covered in red marks, still revealed the intensity of their recent encounter. I felt no sadness, no anger. As if I saw nothing, I walked into the bedroom expressionless. By the time I came out, Tiffany Grant had already left. Only Robert Song remained, sitting there drinking. Seeing me come out, he slowly raised his head. The dim light cast on his face obscured his expression. "Sarah Miller, where were you today?" "None of your business." I didn't want to say more, but Robert Song suddenly smashed the glass. He strode towards me. "Don't act all innocent. Don't think I don't know you were out messing around with a kept man. Sarah Miller, are you that impatient for attention? Are you upset I've been neglecting you lately? If so, I'll satisfy you." Saying this, Robert Song brutally tore open my clothes and dragged me towards the bed by the hand. I was startled by his actions. I struggled fiercely and cried out, "Robert Song, are you insane? I just gave birth." Robert Song, who had lost all reason, didn't hear a word I said and bit my shoulder. I shoved Robert Song away with all my might and slapped him. Enraged, Robert Song didn't back down either, grabbing the glass from the table and smashing it at me. With a crash, a trickle of blood slowly ran down my forehead. Robert Song froze for a moment, then instinctively came to support me. "Why didn't you dodge?" I staggered back a few steps, trying to speak. But my body gave out, and I collapsed after I don't know how long. I was woken up by the sound of Robert and Arthur arguing. I realized I was back in the hospital. Seeing me awake, Robert seemed to let out a sigh of relief. He looked at Arthur, his face full of displeasure. "This is the good wife you picked for me, running off to meet some guy before she's even recovered from childbirth." Arthur was trembling with rage. "What meeting? Do you even know what Sarah went to do yesterday?" "Grandpa Arthur." I interrupted Arthur. "It's all over." Arthur understood my meaning and said no more. He just looked at Robert with a face full of bitter disappointment. Robert waved his hand dismissively. "She's awake now, nothing else for me here. Ashley is waiting for me, I'm leaving." Arthur hit him with his cane. "You animal, I don't care where you go today, but you will come to the Arthur family estate with Sarah tomorrow." Before he could finish, Robert's figure had already disappeared out the door. Arthur sighed deeply, his back becoming more hunched. He handed me the signed divorce papers. "Sarah, it is my failing for not raising my descendant properly. But that child was your flesh and blood too. I hope you can attend his final service." Looking at this white-haired old man, I couldn't bring myself to refuse in the end. Early the next morning, I arrived at the Arthur family estate dressed in black. This child, I gave my life to bring him into the world. Sadly, I never even got to hold him before we were separated forever by death. I gently wiped away the tears from my eyes. Perhaps it's for the best. This way, I have no ties to hold me back from leaving. I had given everything I had to this marriage. As I left this time, there was only exhaustion, no regret. Robert never showed up until the child was buried. Instead, I saw photos of him and Ashley trying on wedding dresses trending online. Ashley sent me messages, gloating, "So what if you had his child? Robert chose me in the end." "Oh, and did you think Robert was taking care of you while you were unconscious? He was with me, the whole time. We were in the hospital room next door, exploring all sorts of new positions." In the video, my pale face was a stark contrast to Ashley's radiant complexion. I didn't reply, quietly forwarding all the messages and videos to Arthur. Then, I took off my wedding ring. Holding my mom's ashes, I whispered, "Mom, let's go home." It wasn't until night fell that Robert, reeking of alcohol, returned to the Arthur family estate. As soon as he pushed open the door, he was startled by the sight of the funeral wreaths. Who died? Was it Sir's mother? He was visibly shaken, his face panicked. "Why didn't anyone tell me about something this big sooner? Where is Sarah? She must be heartbroken right now, I need to go comfort her." Arthur, having reached his limit, took the divorce papers and flung them straight at Robert's face. Sarah has already left, taking her mother's ashes. Today is the 1-week anniversary of your son's death. Arthur's pent-up emotions finally exploded. He pointed at Robert and roared, "Your mistress hit Sarah with her car, causing premature labor. The child missed the critical time for rescue and suffocated inside Sarah. Her mother also passed away suddenly due to the shock. Robert, all of this is your fault." Robert froze in disbelief. He looked around, then sneered. He tore the divorce papers in his hand to shreds. "Grandpa Arthur, you're an old man now, don't play along with Sarah's act. I don't believe for a second she'd divorce me. How could she give up the Arthur family's power and wealth?" Robert kicked over a funeral wreath next to him. "Putting these things up for no reason, isn't it morbid? Aren't you just angry that I haven't been home to see the child? But I'm back now, aren't I? Where's the child? Bring him here, let me see him. Has he been named? Does he look more like me or Sarah?" Robert started humming a tune and looking around. But all the staff at the Arthur family estate were looking down, their faces filled with sorrow. Not one of them responded to him. Seeing this, a hint of unease flickered in Robert's heart. He started searching the villa. After searching everywhere without finding anything, his tone became unnatural. "Where have you hidden my child?" "Grandpa Arthur, I know I went a bit too far last time. I shouldn't have gotten physical with Sarah, but the child has been born, can she really divorce me now? Tell me where she is quickly, I'll go apologize and sweet-talk her." Robert didn't take Sarah's anger or hurt seriously. He knew Sarah couldn't leave him, no matter how outrageous his actions. For the sake of Sarah's mother, Sarah would have to swallow all the hurt alone. Besides, now they had a child. Sarah had another tie holding her back. Robert didn't believe she would divorce him, even less did he believe she would leave. Arthur grabbed his cane and hit Robert hard. "You animal! How could the Arthur family raise such a disgrace? You don't want a good woman like Sarah, but you treat some socialite like she's precious." Robert pursed his lips indifferently. He simply crossed his legs and sat down on the sofa. "You saw that trending headline, didn't you? So you ganged up to put on an act, right? Grandpa Arthur, those women were just casual flings. Sarah is the most important woman in my heart. I never thought of letting any woman replace her. If you don't believe me, I'll prove it to you, now." Saying this, Robert called Ashley. "Did you like the wedding dress? I've bought it for you. You're not getting any younger, go find an honest man and get married. Don't ever appear in front of me again." Without waiting for a reply, Robert had already expertly blocked Sarah. Then he spread his hands, smiling at Arthur. "Now are you satisfied? All right, let Emily and the child come home with me. At worst, I'll promise her I'll be home with them on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and go out on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays." Arthur was furious at Robert's flippant attitude. He was determined to teach his good-for-nothing grandson a lesson. But just as he raised his cane, he felt a wave of dizziness. The stress and exhaustion of the past few days had completely broken the old man. He clutched his chest and collapsed. Robert's face changed drastically, and he quickly rushed Arthur to the hospital. The entire Song family was thrown into chaos. After a night of emergency treatment, his life was finally out of danger. He was only in a coma, unsure when he would wake up. Robert stood outside the hospital room door, irritably lighting a cigarette. A nearby David quickly stepped forward to stop him. Robert, however, grabbed David's collar directly. "You're that creep dating Emily. You actually have the nerve to show your face in front of me. Where's Emily? Did she take the child and hide with you? Get her out here to see me, now." Hearing this, David, who was usually very composed, couldn't help but fight back. He looked at Robert, his eyes red. "You bastard, think you're special just because you have some filthy money. Do you have any idea? That day, I was with Ms. Emily at the funeral home to collect her mother's ashes. She's a woman alone, with no one to rely on, and in one day, she suddenly lost both her child and her mother. And you, her husband, not only weren't by her side, but you were out partying and womanizing with your mistress. Are you even human?" The nurses and colleagues nearby rushed over to break up the fight. But everything they said, implicitly and explicitly, pointed to Robert being in the wrong. Faced with these accusations, Robert was speechless. All he could think about was Emily's face that day, calm to the point of numbness. Over the years, he had long grown accustomed to ignoring Emily's feelings. How could he have noticed the intense sorrow hidden beneath that seemingly calm facade? Robert's heart ached fiercely for a moment. But he still clenched his jaw and shook his head. "Emily must have paid you off. I don't believe a word of your nonsense. Emily cared so much about her mother. If her mother had passed away, how could she have had no reaction? And the child, she risked her life to give birth to that child, how could she have been so calm?" While saying this, a storm raged in his heart. Robert wanted to prove he was right. He drove back to the empty home like a madman. Looking at the empty home, it suddenly dawned on him. The day they argued and got physical, Emily had come back to pack her bags. She had truly made up her mind to leave. Emily. Emily. His repeated shouts went unanswered. Robert lost his footing for a moment and fell to the ground. And that's when he saw the wedding ring that had rolled under the table. This wedding ring was custom made by Robert himself shortly after they got married. Emily cherished it. For 10 years, they had argued constantly. But Emily had never brought herself to take this wedding ring off. For both of them, this ring wasn't just a wedding ring. It was also a witness to their beautiful past together. It was the only hope and memory left. Yet now, the ring was discarded in a forgotten corner. And Emily was gone. Robert's heart slowly sank, dropping all the way to the bottom. He stared blankly at his familiar surroundings, but everything felt so strange. Sadness and fear closed in on him from all sides. Arthur showed no signs of waking up. All the company's affairs, big and small, had to be handled by Robert. But Robert's heart was completely focused on Emily. Before Arthur handled the company affairs, Emily managed the household. Robert didn't have to worry about anything, spending his days partying and womanizing without a care in the world. Yet overnight, the two most important people in his life, the complete pillars of his existence, were both gone. Robert couldn't bear the weight of such a large company. Nor could he bear the weight of a broken home. Out of desperation, Robert chose to escape. He drank himself into a stupor every day, crying uncontrollably, holding a photo of Emily. That night, Robert was drinking heavily at home again. But the door to the room was pushed open. A slender figure walked in and gently hugged Robert. Smelling that familiar scent, Robert's long dormant heart began to pound wildly. He held the person tightly in his arms, pouring out his longing and affection. Emily, you're finally back. You have no idea how much I've missed you. Grandpa Arthur is very sick. The company affairs are suffocating me, and when I come home, I don't see you. I really don't know what to do. Please don't leave me again, okay? I'll change everything. I won't fool around anymore. I'll stay by your side. We'll have another sweet child, and we'll be a happy family of 3. Robert, his eyes blurry with drunkenness, spent the night with the person who had come. It wasn't until the morning sun shone on the bed that he saw clearly, the person from last night was Sarah. Sarah leaned pliantly against Robert and said sweetly, Robert, I heard everything you said last night. That woman Emily isn't worth your love. How about I stay with you from now on? I won't be useless like her. I'll definitely give you a healthy and adorable child. This time, Robert didn't get lost in Sarah's tenderness. He kicked Sarah out of bed, his face cold. He got up to get dressed. Sarah, what we had was just a game. The only person I've ever loved from the beginning until now is Emily. Being with you was just to spite her. From now on, I'm going to turn over a new leaf. If you ever dare to show up and ruin things between us again, I won't go easy on you. He threw a check in Sarah's face. Then he put on his coat and left. Just last night, Robert had figured it all out. In this world, he could lose everything, but he couldn't lose Emily. No matter what, he had to find Emily and bring her back. After a long journey, I finally returned to Havenwood, which I had left so long ago. Everything here was just as it used to be. It was as if time had paused. Even after so many years away, it was still exactly the same as the Havenwood in my memory. Aunt Carol saw me and was both surprised and delighted. She enthusiastically helped me clean up the old house. Back when you were getting into Eastwood University, we were all so happy for you, she said. Looking at you now, you must have made a name for yourself in the city. It just goes to show that all your mother's hard work, sacrifice wasn't in vain. Looking at Aunt Carol's kind face, I lowered my head, feeling ashamed. I was the first student from this small town to get into a prestigious university. Back then, everyone, including myself, believed I would have a brilliant future. I would make sure Mother lived a good life, and I would have a happy family. But fate is capricious. At a crossroads in my life, I chose to marry Robert. For that, I paid with 10 years of my youth and 2 lives. I chatted with Aunt Carol for a while, briefly telling her what had happened. When she heard that Mother had passed away, her face showed sadness. I couldn't help but shed tears myself. I keep thinking I was the one who caused Mother's death. If only I had noticed something was wrong sooner, if I had kept the news of the children's deaths from her, if I hadn't married Robert, but had earned money for her medical treatment with my own hands, none of this would have happened. Aunt Carol patted my shoulder and pulled me into a hug. Actually, your mother called me many years ago. She knew you weren't happy after you got married, and she cried as she told me she was sorry, that it was her fault you were dragged down. Sarah, you're all grown up now, and there's not much I can tell you, but no mother doesn't love her child. Your mother wouldn't blame you, she only wanted you to be happy. I buried my face in Aunt Carol's arms and sobbed uncontrollably, wishing I could pour out all the grievances and heartache of the past 10 years. After my crying spell, I felt much calmer. The regrets of the past couldn't be undone. Thankfully, even though I felt like I'd been flayed alive, I had still managed to struggle out of that golden cage. I hadn't let myself sink into endless despair. In Havenwood, I held a simple funeral for Mother, burying her alongside my father, who had passed away earlier. The neighbors around were all very kind and actively offered help, assisting me with matters big and small. I also made up my mind to stay in Havenwood. Using my excellent qualifications, I successfully got a job as a teacher at a local school. Most of my colleagues were young people who had just graduated. They were the same age as Emily, but cheerful, optimistic, and positive. In our free time, we chat and go shopping together. Life was simple and comfortable. One day, however, Robert appeared before me. The reek of alcohol coming off him made my head ache. I wanted to avoid him, but he blocked my path. He looked at me, his eyes filled with an intensity I couldn't understand. "Sarah, I've missed you so much." "Robert, we're divorced." My face was expressionless, as calm as if I were looking at a stranger. But Robert kept shaking his head, stubbornly holding the ring up to me. "I don't agree. Sarah, I can't live without you. While you were gone, I missed you like crazy. I never dared tell you, but I truly, honestly loved you. The time we were together at the beginning was the happiest period of my life. I thought I finally had someone in this world who could love me wholeheartedly. I thought I could finally have a home. But the contract you signed with my grandfather shattered all my illusions. I couldn't accept that the woman I loved so deeply had approached me with an agenda. To get back at you, I did all those terrible things." Robert wept as he spoke, as if he had suffered some immense injustice. I looked up at Robert. "Do you even remember our wedding anniversary?" Robert froze for a moment. He stammered and stumbled over his words for a long time but couldn't name the exact date. I let out a cold laugh and said slowly, "I remember. I'll never forget. Because your mistress told me that the first time she slept with you was on our wedding day. That girl was Robert's chosen bridesmaid. The distant cousin he'd mentioned. Not long after our wedding, she openly revealed their affair, but Robert soon grew tired of her. When a new favorite appeared, she became a discarded woman before I did." Exposed, Robert was speechless, but my years of compromise and forbearance had led him to believe that all he had to do was lower his head, a little to win me back. After that, Robert started sending me flowers and gifts, just like when we were dating. But I was no longer the naive, ignorant girl I once was. And I wouldn't make the same mistake twice. Just as I had resolved never to see Robert again as long as I lived, I received a call from a lawyer. Grandfather Sterling was on his sick, critically ill. He wanted to see me one last time before he died. Over the past 10 years, Grandfather Sterling had treated me with a certain level of respect and care. Out of both sentiment and obligation, I felt I should go pay my respects, do my duty. I put my grievances with Robert aside for the moment and rushed back to the Sterling estate that very night. Grandfather Sterling, on his sick, was experiencing a final rally. His aged face was full of worry and sorrow. "Sarah, I wronged you, and the Sterling estate wronged you. When I married Robert, I was young and naive. But Grandfather Sterling, who had spent half his life battling in the business world, couldn't have failed to understand how unfair that contract was. He cut off all the other possibilities for my life, luring me into signing that contract. He buried my lifelong happiness in this golden cage." I was silent for a moment. "I don't blame you. It was a choice I made willingly back then. I don't blame anyone. Robert was spoiled by me. Whatever his fate may be in the future, he brought it upon himself. I wouldn't dare ask you to go back to him, but I only beg you, when he's destitute, to give him a meal." The lawyer standing nearby handed me a contract. Grandfather Sterling was prepared to transfer most of the shares, stock he held, along with his property, into my name. He even intended to hand over the company for me to manage. All that was left for Robert was a mansion, and a small amount of shares, stock. I smiled faintly and shook my head. "Grandfather Sterling, this is too great a responsibility. I can't bear it. More importantly, I've already wasted 10 years of my life on Robert. For the rest of my days, I just want to live for myself, and have absolutely nothing to do with him anymore." Grandfather Sterling truly doted on this grandson. Even on his deathbed, he was still thinking of paving the way for him, utterly disregarding the sacrifice of another person's life. But the person I was now wouldn't fall for Robert's sweet talk, nor would I be fooled by Grandfather Sterling's gilded promises. I had finally understood completely that the gifts of fate always come with a hidden price tag. Seeing how resolute I was, Grandfather Sterling coughed violently. Robert's emotions were also running high. He looked at me with red eyes, wanting to speak, but was stopped by Grandfather Sterling's wave of the hand. I bowed to him, not wishing to stay long. As I reached the door, I heard Grandfather Sterling's helpless and heartbroken scolding. Give up. The Sterling estate's vast fortune cannot win her back. Robert, you were too deeply mistaken. Immediately after, a harsh alarm sounded. This old man, who had spent his life working tirelessly, ended his days filled with regret. I asked the doctor to send a wreath for Grandfather Sterling, considering it a way to finally settle my grievances with the Sterling estate. As I reached the intersection, Robert chased after me again. At the busy roadside, he knelt down before me. Sarah, Grandfather Sterling is dead. I only have you. I know I was wrong. I'm willing to change. What do I have to do for you to come back to me? I could tell that this time his repentance and apology were sincere, but I had heard such promises too many times, over the past 10 years. I watched the children running past on the street. I watched an elderly woman wiping a child's sweat. After a long silence, I spoke slowly, unless time flows backward and the dead return to life. Robert, knowing he was powerless, burst into tears. He was like a spoiled child, trying to get what he wanted by crying. I didn't want to deal with it. Amidst his mournful sobs, I hailed a taxi. The car drove me towards the rising sun. Without hesitation, and without looking back,